And out of the 10 top countries that are in conflict globally, 3 of them are in sub-Saharan Africa, and quite a number of countries around us, including us, are in one form of conflict or the other. And when you look at what causes conflict in Africa, most cases is struggle for leadership, contestation for power. And that is the main cause of conflicts. Sometimes when you go to a society and people can tell you all kinds of stories, but by the time you do proper analysis and think deeply, you know that most causes of conflict is leadership struggle. And that is why I'm also worried about my country, Nigeria. Of course, people say politics is a dirty game. And the way we play our politics must be clean. We cannot play politics that will end. It's dangerous, what we are seeing. Let me use what you have seen. We've just finished elections in Edo State, and even if you were not in Edo State, the Yaga people here were in Edo State, but most of us was the media and read from social media and so on. So you see that there's much tension. Even though results have been announced, somebody has been announced as a winner, but there's tension. Because there are certain things that probably were done differently. And we must move away from that. In our electoral processes, we must develop that culture. I've been to quite a number of African countries, and YEG Africa, I used to meet them in a number of those countries. Let me give an example, like a country in West Africa, Senegal, had their elections not too long ago. And because they have developed that culture, you see, they did not use any technology to do the elections. I don't want to bore your ears by explaining what I observed. Very simple. Here in Nigeria, we talk about technology. Without the human mind being ready to do what is right, even if you bring the technology, it will be manipulated. My time, it was the card reader. That card reader almost caused crisis in the country, especially when I wanted to vote, and the card reader rejected me as the sitting president. My wife wanted to vote, and the card reader rejected my wife as the first lady. My mother wanted to vote, and the card reader rejected my mother. So you can imagine that was a recipe for crisis. We have to manage the situation, otherwise the Niger Delta would have gone into flames. And of course, put that and got the rest of the country. So the human mind must be attuned to that, or must develop that culture. In Senegal, everybody that was involved in the electoral process was ready to do the right thing. The electoral management body, like our INEC, was ready to do the right thing. Nobody was interested in manipulating the process. The security, they were ready to do the right thing. Nobody was interested in manipulating the process. In fact, they have polling stations. Within the polling stations, we have polling units. You see the police only in front. In most cases, they use I think you hear my voice. Most cases, they use secondary school and primary school classrooms, compounds. And within the classrooms, you have the voting units. The police were just at the front. No police was inside where they were voting. Because they have developed that culture that nobody was there to do the wrong thing. The voters themselves were ready to do the right thing. No voter wanted to manipulate. The political parties, everybody, candidates, they were all there to do the right thing. And they conducted an election without technology, and it is the best election I've observed within Africa, and some of the countries have gone outside Africa. So that culture of doing the right things must be there. In Nigeria, we don't have that culture. And that is why we have our military people here. That is why even ordinary election of a governor, not even a president, the army would be involved. Yes, some countries, they use Navy and Air Force, and sometimes the army. to carry materials in very difficult terrains, fly them, or maybe in the riverine areas, but not to play the role of a police. Rarely you see the military, because for the military to come out to perform civil responsibility, it requires, most countries requires the president and the commander-in-chief to issue a declaration. Military don't just come out. Well, because we have not developed that culture, ordinary election, maybe even election of local government chairman now, you'll see the military around. We have reduced the value of our armed forces. Management of elections, in fact, in the countries where the chief executive of the country is a different person, the prime minister, and the commander-in-chief is a different person, either the queen or a king or elected president. The president will not, except the commander-in-chief, call out the military. They don't go out. And the prime minister has no powers to call out the military, even though he's the administrative head of the country. And because before the military comes out to perform response, it's a serious business. Now, because we have not developed that culture of peace, we use our military as if they are police officers. The military is not police. So, as a country, if we don't change, we politicians don't change our political behavior and embrace that culture that must be embedded in us, that it will look as if it's a part of our genetic makeup. One day this country will be engulfed to go into a conflagration that nobody can control. So we, the politicians, must know that what we do wrongly is wrong. And when we politicians justify evil things and say it is politics, somebody does something that's evil, say it's politics. It's not politics, you're a criminal. So for me today, as the chairman, to declare this event open, I'm calling on all Nigerians, not just the politicians, because all Nigerians vote, all Nigerians, to develop that culture of peace, especially in our struggle for leadership. The vote, the electoral management bodies, the security, the political parties, the voters themselves, the judiciary, and always relate elections to the game of soccer. In the game of soccer, while these young men and women are in the field, sometimes they can get so charged that they even want to bring their colleague down. But the referee will know whether to give you a yellow card or a red card. Because if the referee fails to do that, then of course who will kill or who can carry the ball, run into, push the goalkeeper down and throw it in. So the umpire, which is the electoral management bodies in Africa, must play that role of a good referee. And where a mistake is made by the referee, these days they have this video, which is the judiciary. If the judiciary doesn't play that role well, that where there's an error and where the umpire makes a mistake, and the judiciary will correct it, if the judiciary decides to look the other way, then we are building a society where people, when they want to go for election, you prepare your army. We are lucky that they do election, everybody said it was peaceful. Well, the results have been announced, the judiciary will deal with the rest. But basically, because of the number of policemen and the military, that was peace. But would we continue this way? We cannot continue this way as a nation. So we have no choice as a nation than for all of us to build